Right, welcome guys to my channel. I am your presenter H squared, and today's topic is on fractions and decimals. I'm going to be showing you the different types of fractions, and then we'll talk you through the concepts about fractions, and then we're going to look at the exam type questions. Now, today we're going to concentrate on the types of fractions. These are proper fractions. You will be able to understand what a proper fraction is, what an improper fraction is, and what a mixed fraction is, and how to convert from a mixed fraction into an improper fraction, and vice versa. Okay? Now, all these concepts, guys, will come clear by the end of the lesson, because I'll give you exam type questions and examples which I'll go through together with you. Okay, now if you find these videos any help, guys, leave us a comment there, like the video and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any new video that is uploaded on the channel. Right, on this note, guys, let's get into the lesson. Right, now we're going to look at an introduction to fractions so that you can understand what a fraction is. And we'll look at the fraction wall, we'll look at the different types of fractions, and we'll also look at how to change mixed fractions to improper fractions, and we'll finally look at how to change improper fractions into mixed fractions. Okay? Now, by the end of the lesson, guys, you should be able to understand what a fraction is, differentiate proper fractions and improper fractions from mixed fractions, change improper fractions into mixed fractions, and change mixed fractions into improper fractions. Now, this knowledge will help you solve exam questions such as these. Okay, you've got A there from the table, write down. I know, forgive me, that is not showing clearly there because there's a picture there obscuring it, but it doesn't matter. We'll look at that same question at the end of the lesson when I begin to show you how to work out the answers. Okay? Right, now, the first concept I would like to tackle under fractions and decimals is the fraction wall. If you remember in the first lesson in the series, I tackled this question. I tackled this concept, not the question, where I explained the use of the fraction wall. As you can see there, self-explanatory, one bar there, that's a complete bar, that's the whole thing. If you divide this bar into two parts, you've got half and half. If you divide the same bar into three equal parts, you've got a third, and a third. The same bar divided into four parts, you've got a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, and a quarter. And then lastly, the same bar divided into five equal parts will give you each part being equal to a fifth. And you can go on and keep on dividing the same bar into a number of parts to get the different types of fractions under it. Right, now this is important for you to be able to compare the size of the fractions. As you can see from this chart there, that the size of half is actually bigger than a third. Therefore, half is greater than a third. And if you go further down, a quarter is actually smaller than a third. Therefore, a quarter is less than a third. And a fifth is actually less than half, less than a third, less than a quarter. But then what happens when you add these fractions together? If you add this one and that one, will give you 2/3, and as you can see, 2/3 is actually bigger than half. But if you add a quarter and a quarter, you have 2 quarters there. 2 quarters are actually the same size as half. And then if you look at 2/5, this fifth and that fifth added together, the fifth here, this fifth added together will give you 2/5. The 2/5 there are actually bigger than a third, but smaller than half. Now, all this that I'm doing here will become clearer when you start looking at the addition of fractions, addition and subtraction of fractions. Right, let us now proceed to look at the everyday life example of what fractions are and how useful they are. Right, now giving you an example here. This is just a diagram representing $1. If you've got $1 there, you split $1 into two equal parts. You've got 50 cents and 50 cents. Now each one of these 50 cents represents half of $1. Right, if you continue splitting up the 50 cents into two equal parts, this one split into equal parts, this one split it up into equal parts, you have each part representing a quarter of the US dollar. Right, that's a quarter of the US dollar, that's quarter of the US dollar, quarter of the US dollar. Okay, which is 25 cents is actually quarter of $1. Okay, now let's look at the types of fractions. These are the type of fractions that you come across. You've got a proper fraction, right? Now a proper fraction has the numerator. Numerator is simply the number on top, right? The numerator is smaller than the denominator. The denominator is the number at the bottom there. So for a proper fraction, you have a numerator being less than the denominator. With an improper fraction, just as the word itself improper says there, you can notice that the numerator in this case is actually greater than the denominator. This is why this is known as an improper fraction, or you can call it top heavy. Okay, now a mixed fraction is simply a mixed number. You've got a whole number there with a fraction. Okay, now I will show you in the examples how you can actually change an improper fraction into a mixed fraction, and also how you can change a mixed fraction back into an improper fraction. Right, on that note guys, we can dive into examples straight away. Let us start by looking at one example guys before I look at the exam type examples. Right, now I gave you an example of 3/2 as an improper fraction. If you are asked to change this into a mixed fraction, what you simply do is divide 3 by 2. Okay, now how many 2's can you find in 3? There is only one. Only one 2 can go into 3 with a remainder of 1. Now that remainder, you write it on top, you draw the line, and then you retain the same denominator there. It's 2. We have now changed 3 halves into 1.5. So this is an improper fraction changed into a mixed fraction. Okay, now how do you move back from a mixed fraction into an improper fraction? This is how you do it. Right, you have up there, we are trying to change this mixed fraction into an improper fraction. What you do is you multiply the denominator with the whole number, and then you add the numerator. So if we multiply 2 times 1, we get 2. Then we add the denominator 1 there, and then we are going to retain. We draw the line there and retain the denominator here. Write it down there. Okay, you simplify that, that will give you 3. 2 plus 1 is 3, and then you retain the denominator to have that. So this is very clear guys. We've now moved from an improper fraction to a mixed number, and then back to an improper fraction, from a mixed fraction into an improper fraction. Okay, so to change an improper fraction into a mixed fraction, guys, you divide the numerator by the denominator. And in this case, is what I've done. 3 divided by 2 is 1. Remainder 1. That remainder, I write it on top, draw the line, and then I retain the denominator. This denominator simply goes there, doesn't change. I write it there. So you've got a mixed fraction there. Then how do we move from a mixed fraction back to an improper fraction? What we do here is we multiply the denominator by the whole number and then add the numerator. Draw the line and then retain the denominator. So I've multiplied 2 by 1 to get 2, then plus 1, and then all of it divided by 2. When you simplify this, it gives you 3 over 2. Okay? I hope that is very clear, guys. Now, let us look at the actual examples that you might come across in an exam. Right, this is the example that wasn't clear earlier on when I was explaining the concepts. Right, if you're given a question such as this one, say from the table, write down a decimal number. A decimal number straightforward, that is 0.021. You can identify a decimal number by looking at a decimal point. If there's a decimal point in a number, then that's a decimal number. Now, number 2, A2 is a mixed fraction. So our mixed fraction there is 2 1/3. 2 1/3. Yeah, that is 2 1/3. That one there. Okay. Then a proper fraction. A proper fraction is a quarter. That one there. And an improper fraction is 5/2. Okay. Let's move on to B. Right. B, change 0.2 into a fraction. Now here we are changing a decimal into a fraction. Now to change a decimal into a fraction, you've got to understand the place value table. From the place value table, guys, which I dealt with in the first lesson in the series, first video in the series, you realize that, you will notice that, right, this represents a tenth and this represents ones. Right, now a tenth means that number in that column divided by 10. Hundredth would mean that number in that column divided by 100. Thousandth would mean that number in the column divided by 1,000. So in this case we only have 0.2. 2 comes under the 10th column in the place value table. Therefore, this is equal to 2 out of 10. Tenth means 2 out of a 10. So 2/10. Okay. Now, you can leave this in that format, 2/10, or you can actually simplify it. Simplifying a fraction means cancelling it down, which means you have to look for a factor that can divide the numerator and the denominator exactly. Just one factor. You don't have to look for a factor that divides that one and a different factor that looks for that. No, that would be wrong. You look for only one factor that will divide the denominator and the numerator. In this case, from what I can see here, the only factor that can divide both the numerator and the denominator exactly is 2. So dividing the numerator by 2 will give us 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then 10 divided by 2, it is 5. So this will be equal to a fifth. we've now simplified the fraction. Right, I'll give you more examples on how to simplify fractions if you're still behind. Then let's look at 2. Change 2 and 2/3 into an improper fraction. Right, just like I explained in the example, guys, you've got 2 and 2/3 there. So you will multiply the whole number by the denominator and then add the numerator. So this will simply be, right, 2 times 3 plus 2. So multiplying this 2 times 3, which I've put there in brackets. You understand why I'm using brackets later on when we look at basic operations, the use of brackets and how you can prioritize calculations depending on the operation that is in the question. So 2 times 3, that's 2 times 3, then you add 2, then all of it you divide it by 3, which means you retain the denominator, guys. There you are. Then simplifying that will give us 6 plus 2 over 3, which is simplifies to 8 over 3. Okay, so that is 8 divided by 3. Okay, then changing 5 halves into a mixed fraction, simply do the opposite of that. You have 5/2. Now, like I said in the example that I gave you earlier, you have to divide the numerator by the denominator. So 5 divided by 2, it's 2, and the remainder is 1, which you write there and draw a line. Then you return the denominator, 2. So 5 halves written as a mixed fraction would simply be 2 and a half. And if you change this into an improper fraction, you find it gives you exactly that. If you follow that method, you'll be able to arrive at 5 halves. Okay? On that note, guys, this marks the end of this lesson. Please, if you find this video any helpful, like I said earlier, subscribe to the channel so that you're informed of the new videos that are being uploaded, and also like the videos, guys. Leave us comments there for any questions that you might have or any topic that you might want me to tackle in the future. Right, on that note, guys, see you in the next video. Guys, if you find this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe to the channel to help us. Tip donations are also welcome, guys. All you have to do is scan the QR code below. Thank you for watching, guys. Looking forward to see you in another video. Thank you.